Hey guys, welcome back, it's Ripe again. In today's video, a stranger trespassed on my property with his brats on ATVs. They ended up crashing their vehicles and then blamed me for it, even threatening to sue me. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the video. So one thing that nobody tells you about having a big piece of land with some nature is that people don't understand the notion of staying off of property that doesn't belong to them. Over the years, I've had people ignore the big red sign saying private property, stay out. Hell, I even put up signs that I had dangerous dogs or just danger in general, but nothing stops idiots from being stupid. I chased more people away from my house than I can count, but there was always one crazy guy that stuck in my head. Keep in mind for this story that the area I had most of these people trespassing was an almost forest-type area of my property. It was just very natural with dirt, trees and the critters that lived there. Anyway, this guy was not even trying to be subtle because he was riding a tricked out ATV that had the loudest and most obnoxious motor and exhaust ever. He was not alone either and brought his two kids with their own ATVs being just as loud. They were racing through the forest and ignoring every single sign that I had put up, even knocking one down like it was just a big joke. I wanted to give them a piece of my mind, but I had to wait for them to slow the hell down. They did stop, but not before. All three of them ended up crashing into the same tree. And by the way, Ripe stars, my apologies if I still sound a little bit sick, but I think it's already a lot better. Anyway, I didn't see it happen, but I just saw all three of them on the ground and the smashed up ATVs in the tree. None looked seriously hurt and I should have asked if they wanted an ambulance or something, but I was too angry at the dad. Me, hey, did you not read the sign saying that this was private property? What do you think you were doing on my land? Dad, oh, come on, this is not your land. Nature belongs to everybody. Besides, we are the ones that ended up getting hurt. Yeah, he was an idiot and possibly drunk. I could not tell for sure. I kicked them off my property with him grumbling the entire time. For me, this was not the part that made it stick in my head because it was weird, but not an atypical experience. Then I got a letter in the mail from this guy and I couldn't believe it. He wrote that since they got hurt on my property, they would sue me for damages. He claimed to be a reasonable guy, and if I just wrote him a check for 15k to fix the ATVs that broke due to my negligence of property, he would forget the whole thing. I don't know if he was trying to shake me down or just that level of stupidity. I was not giving him a penny and instead decided to send a letter back to him myself. I egged him on to sue me and told him off for being the absolute idiot that he was. In fact, at this point, I wanted to see if he would sue me because I knew that it would only hurt him instead of me. What I didn't mention before was that his kids did not look of age to be riding those ATVs in the first place. Forget about property and trespassing and all of that for just a second because I knew that the minute a court heard that he put his kids in danger, he was gonna be screwed. And well, dumb people can easily be pushed, I guess, because I got the notice that I was formally being sued for $50,000. I was fine with this since I knew I was gonna end up on top by the end of the whole process. Nothing interesting happened actually up until we went to court, so I'm just gonna skip ahead and ignore boring paperwork and lawyer conversations. He clearly lied to his lawyer because they were claiming that I ran an ATV track on my property and that was why they came in the first place. There was no proof or record of that in any single way, and the fact that I had signs telling people to go away showed the exact opposite. I let him go on his tangent and waited for my turn to speak. Me, that is just not true. I don't and never have ran an ATV track in my woods. I got several signs telling people to stay out and that it is dangerous. They ignored these signs and snuck onto my property. They crashed on their own and I should not be liable for these damages. The judge agreed with me and I did not need to pay him anything. Now for me, this stupid lawsuit was gonna be the basis for a much bigger one. See, in this he was under a sworn statement that he was on my property with his kids and they were all riding the ATVs. That's what he said. So then I had charges pressed against him for trespassing and child endangerment. When I saw him in court again, he had the same lawyer, but he looked nowhere near as confident during this as he did the first time. Well, probably because he knew that this was not gonna end well and this idiot should have just pled guilty to everything. Instead, he was trying to claim that he didn't trespass and did not endanger his children. The judge responded, "Well, on date you sent a letter to me claiming that since you crashed on his property, he owed you money. Now it was found in a civil case on this date that he was not liable since you were not invited on the grounds. So can you tell me how this is true but you're not guilty of trespassing?" My opposition had a great reasoning for this and first tried to argue and get his lawyer to argue that they couldn't use a previous statement from court against him. Which they could since he was sworn in for that. Then tried to argue trespassing meant that he had to go indoors and that nature is open and free for all. Not a good argument if you ask me. Then they got into the fact that his kids were too young to be driving the ATVs and yet their own father put them on dangerous machines and set them wild and free. His counterclaim for that one was even better in my opinion, so like I said before when I was yelling at him, nobody was hurt and no ambulance got called. This was now a double-edged sword that was gonna stab him twice. He claimed that since his kids were not hurt and did not even need to see a doctor, that meant it could not be child endangerment. I guess in his mind you can shoot a kid, but as long as you don't hit them, it's fine. Honestly, it was the most backwards thing in the world I've ever heard, and instead of helping his case, it made it even worse. The judge basically called him a moron for not taking his kids to the hospital to get checked out after they were in an accident. They could have had internal injuries and it made him seem even more irresponsible. He was digging himself in deeper and the only thing his lawyer could do was try to get him to stop talking. This case could have been one of those criminal law shows because of how over the top this whole thing was. I've never done drugs, but watching this thing unfold made me feel like I was under the influence of something. He was found guilty and going to jail mainly for putting his kids in danger. They could stay with their mom but would be getting checked in on to make sure they were still okay. This guy was just standing there confused, not understanding how he was the one in trouble. I would put it on a big sign for him, but he would not read it anyway. And by the way, Ripe Stars, this story, if I remember correctly, actually did not happen in America, but instead it's a story from Scandinavia. I suppose that's why this idiot got such a harsh punishment for not taking care of his kids properly. Either way, let's continue to the next one, which is titled Retail Entitlement. So for the last dozen years or so, I've been carrying this gorgeous vintage designer bag I found online. I think I bought it in 2K10. I love it and I will carry it until it falls apart. I get a ton of compliments on it and it also caused this one crazy story. So I spent 3 years working in an Ivy League college town upscale clothing boutique that catered to wealthy college students and their parents and tourists. We did not sell anything like this bag, but I suppose I can see where it would have fit in with the things that we usually sell. One afternoon, I was getting ready to leave for my lunch break and I had put this vintage bag on the counter while I was putting my coat on. An expensively dressed woman who had just walked up to the counter picked up my bag and asked my coworker who was at the register how much this bag was. I walked over and politely took it from her and said it was my personal bag and it was not for sale. She literally snatched it out of my hands and went off on both of us. The bag was sitting on the counter, it had to be for sale. It was obviously much too fancy and expensive a bag for a retail loser to own, and oh, didn't we just wish we were Ivy League students like her precious babies? Which, by the way, was actually funny because I didn't work there because I needed money. I worked there as a favor to the owner, who was a friend of the family, basically as a fill-in for one of her full-time employees who had a chronic illness and called in sick a lot. It allowed her to keep the other worker rather than letting her go for someone more reliable. This entitled Karen probably really would have flipped if I had told her that my husband was a professor at our beloved Ivy League school and I could easily afford that bag, thank you very much. So anyway, this woman just kept screaming at us. She wanted that bag so badly, she absolutely refused to believe it belonged to me. She started screaming about wanting to see the manager or the owner and did not believe my coworker when she informed the woman that she was the store manager. We finally told her if she didn't give me back my bag and leave the store, we were gonna call the police on her. She refused, so police were called. Police get there, entitled woman gets even worse and doubles down on her particular form of insanity. She tells them it's her bag and that she had brought it in with her and that we were trying to steal it from her. The cop took the bag away from her and opened it up and dumped all the contents on the counter. My cell phone, which of course I knew the passcode to, and she didn't. Prescription medication bottles in my name, my checkbook, and everything else I carried on a daily basis. How she had failed to recognize just from the weight of the bag that it had stuff in it, I don't know. You could see the fear creeping into her face as the cop came up with one item after another that proved the bag was mine. When he got to my wallet and pulled out what was clearly my license, the woman jerked away from the second cop who had a hand on her arm and pretty much ran out of the store. I kinda wish they had gone after her, but apparently they did not think that the situation warranted it because they just asked us if we considered it worth pursuing her and pressing charges. Sadly, in that moment we didn't want to be bothered, we just wanted it to be over so we could go on with our day. I wish now that we had. She needed to be taught a lesson or be forced to get mental help. She was not the only crazy entitled customer we ever got, but she was one of the most memorable. And yeah, Ripe Stars, if you have watched until here, I would very much appreciate it if you could like the video, leave a comment and subscribe if you haven't already. The algorithm is currently giving me a hard time again, so your support is much appreciated. Thank you so much. And the next one is an Am I the A-hole story. So I was kicked out at age 15 for being gay. From 15 to 35 I had no contact with my family. Over the years they have somehow managed to work their way back into my life. Only in a small capacity though. My sister, who is younger than me, called earlier and asked what me and my husband were doing for Thanksgiving. I told her that it was just us and that we were just gonna have a nice dinner and probably watch TV for the night and go to bed early. She told me that she was having dinner and that we need to show up. I told her thank you, but this was the first set of holidays in 10 years that I didn't have to host and I was planning on staying home and just putting on a fresh pair of pajamas after a shower and not going anywhere. She then asked about Christmas and I told her the same thing. She then asked when it would be a good time to get together. I told her point blank that I was not all that interested given our history and that I was perfectly happy with how things were at this point. This was when she got pissed off and started to yell at me, saying that I need to start acting more a part of the family and that I need to let go of the past. She told me that we as family need to try and bridge the gap and move forward in a positive way. I told her, no we don't, we hardly know each other, we are very much strangers. I also told her she needs to stop throwing the word family around like it's supposed to mean something to me. When we started to talk again when I was 35 when our dad died, her and my brother constantly berated me and told me that I need to just let them deal with everything that needed to be done. I never disagreed with them, I told them that they could handle it. I was berated when our mother was sick for not visiting her in the hospital or when she was home. I really don't have much of a relationship with my mom, and she is a pretty good stranger as well, so it didn't really matter. I threw everything back in her face. Before we hung up, she reminded me that it was not my husband's blood that runs through my body, and blood is thicker than water. I told her no, my husband's blood did not in fact run through my body, but his semen did, and that was close enough. I thought my husband was gonna wet his pants. So, Reddit, am I the a-hole for telling my sister to stop using the word family like it means something? Edit, good morning everyone, I hope you're all having a great day. First I wanted to say thank you for the responses, awards and everything else in between. This has been completely insane, I never thought this would go so far. So when I was kicked out I was 15 and my sister was 8. So she didn't have anything to do with what happened, but she had every opportunity to find me after a certain point. When she was 16 and had her own car, she could have come and find me. When she was 18 and on her own, she could have come to find me too, but she never did. When our dad died, it was a friend of mine who talked me into going so that I could maybe find some kind of peace with what happened all those years ago. She and another friend went with us. My husband, boyfriend at the time, had to work and could not get the time off. Initially, I was greeted with surprise and thank you for coming, but then with hostility from my sister and brother. If they for a minute thought that I was out to get something from them or our dad's estate, they were wrong. I wanted nothing, and to this day, I still don't. My siblings have always told me what my place in the family is, which is basically that I'm the window dressing. I've been told that I have no business in knowing anything about the family finances, family affairs or anything. I think that they are afraid that I could potentially take something that they want or are supposed to get. A couple of weeks ago, my mom asked me to read over some financial paperwork that she did not understand. Reluctantly, I agreed, but once my sister found out, she screamed at me for putting my nose into areas that I don't supposedly belong. I told my mom not to ask me for anything again because I'll not be involved. I've been asked a few times why do I keep in contact with them, and the answer is because it's my way of keeping ahead of them. I do not voluntarily make contact with them, I have no reason to. I keep my Facebook locked down to the point that I don't show my city, my job, my phone number, just nothing, but I can see all of their stuff. This works because they post a lot, and if I see that they are having problems with whatever the case may be, then I can work to make sure that if they ask for something, I cannot answer or just ignore them altogether. Plus, it does give an open avenue for communication in the event of a major emergency. Plus, maybe I still hold on to a hope that they will maybe at some point actually apologize. But I don't see that ever being the case. I've been asked if my mom has ever apologized. No, she has not, and she never will. She is from a generation where parents don't apologize to their kids. Because that would mean they did something wrong, and well, ripe stars, as we all know, abusive parents can never be wrong, right? Honestly, what a sad situation. Anyway, she is from a generation where kids were to be seen and not heard. I guess it comes down to this. My family has formed this dynamic that I'll never be a part of or want to be a part of, and I'm okay with that. I was not asked to come to Thanksgiving or Christmas, I was told that I'll be there. Why? I don't know. Then when I declined twice, things got ugly. And now we have some comments from Reddit. Also, let us know in the comments what you think about this sad story. As I said before, clearly OP is not the a-hole here. The parents are incredibly abusive and I really feel bad for OP. Anyway, not the a-hole, the last paragraph made me bust out laughing. No, you're not the a-hole, she lost the ability to call you family when she abandoned you with the rest of them. Comment number 2, not the a-hole, I'm crying at your parting shot to her, you're totally within your rights to tell these strangers to step off. And now we have an update from OP and it goes like this. We had such a great day, just C and I, we had steaks on the grill, baked potatoes, steamed veggies and a from scratch pumpkin cheesecake. Tuesday and Wednesday, my mom and sister were tag teaming my messenger all day until I reached my limit and finally answered my sister. She told me when they were planning on eating and that I needed to arrive earlier. I told her point blank that I was not coming to dinner. Out of my own curiosity, I felt like something was wrong and I asked her why it was so important for me to come. They've been telling some family members that I was gonna be at dinner and that everything was okay and I was part of the family again. This is important because many people from both my mom and dad's family have had nothing to do with me but never completely approved of what my parents did to me. This was my breaking point, this put me over the edge and I told them I was not gonna cover for them and that this was the end of all of it. It was their fault for creating this issue and they will need to deal with it on their own. I told her I was done and that to never contact me again. I ended the call and immediately blocked all communication with them. The level of anger that I have towards them is to a point that I cannot even describe it. But at the same time, I feel relieved that they gave me a reason to terminate all communication with them. They are completely on their own, true to form. On Thanksgiving Day, C and I took showers and put on clean pajamas and watched movies all day and then ate dinner. And then back in front of the TV. Before I end this, I wanted to thank all of you for support and encouragement and kind words. Here is to a great holiday season. Anyway, the next one is titled Stupid Pizza Karen. The other day I wanted a pizza. My favorite pizza place is in a supermarket nearby, one of those in-store shops. Now, here's the way this place is arranged. There's the pizza shop on the right that sells only pizza and nothing else besides some refreshment, and on the left there's a grill type shop that sells everything from hot dogs to chicken breast to potato salad and everything in between. But it does not serve pizza at all, and there is the common seating area which consists of 2 tables and a long table along the wall. Between the two where you can sit down and eat if you don't want the food to go. I grab my pizza and I see no free seat nearby when I spot someone leaving the first chair by the grill place on the long table, so I sit there and start digging into my pizza. I barely eat a slice when Karen comes to the grill. Cashier, how can I help you? Karen, I want a pepperoni pizza with. I'm sorry ma'am, we don't serve pizza here. If you want one, Karen interrupts. What do you mean you don't have pizza? This person here, points at me, is eating one. Cashier, he got it from the place next door. Okay, so go and make me one too. I cannot, I don't work there, the cashier said. You will have to go to… What do you mean you don't work there? This is a restaurant. You work here? Give me a pizza. Ma'am, I'm trying to tell you, we are two separate establishments. We don't have pizza. They do. Karen, then why is he eating pizza here? Again pointing at me. Hey, why do you sit here? Me, there were no other free seats. Karen, it doesn't matter. If you ordered from the other side, you have to sit there. Me, it's a common area. You can sit wherever you want, no matter where you ordered. So Karen thought that two shops was just one restaurant, but for some reason there were two separate seating areas. Karen logic. Hearing the commotion, a security guard comes over. Security guard, what's going on here, ma'am? Why are you yelling? This worker refuses to serve me and continues to say he doesn't work here. Security guard, it's true. Okay, ma'am, I will serve you. What do you want again? Karen, I already told you, I want a pepperoni pizza with extra cheese. Cashier looking at the guard and gesturing towards Karen. Security, ma'am, the pizza place is right over there. Karen, I know. He needs to go over there and serve me. To make this short, the story pretty much repeats itself. In the end, Karen leaves huffing and puffing and swearing that she will never come back. The cashier actually apologizes to me about the inconvenience and I said he didn't have to. Pizza and a show. This just made my day. And with this, we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please check out my endless playlist where you can find thousands of hours of content. In addition, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance and I hope to see you again tomorrow.